up? This is Antonio. Welcome back to my channel. Who's ready for some fighting words? In this video, I want to do a fight breakdown for Kostya Tszyu versus Erickson Lubin. Really quick, if you like the videos, please take the time to subscribe to the channel. Also, could you please hit that thumbs up button? It does help and it does support this channel. So if you are new and you're not sure how I basically do a fight breakdown, I just put both guys side by side. I run down a list of attributes. Whoever has more points in the end, that's the individual that I would pick to win for the fight. So without further ado, let's jump this thing off. I'm going to start with experience. Who has more experience? There's two people in particular that I would give this to Kostya Tszyu. Tony Harrison, why? The win over Tony Harrison, well, because Tony Harrison beat the champ. He beat Jermell Charlo. And, you know, I'm sorry, that's more than enough reason for Kostya Tszyu to get this. But also, he took on Brian Mendoza when Brian Mendoza was like, you know, steaming hot and he had a whole lot of momentum and he shut him down completely. He did both guys like that. Jermell Charlo, it took 2 fights for him to shut down Tony Harrison. It only took Kostya Tszyu 1 fight to do that. And Brian Mendoza, he never even got a chance. Tim ripped him apart. He pulled him, he ragdolled him basically. So I got to give it to Kostya Tszyu just based on who they have fought. Erickson Lubin, he's good, but he didn't beat anybody who beat up Jermell Charlo. He didn't beat up anybody who did anything like that. So for that reason, I got to give it to Kostya Tszyu. Style. So Kostya Tszyu is more of a stalker, but he's a very active stalker. Sometimes you get stalkers like Canelo who won't necessarily do a whole lot, or they're just patiently waiting, or Gervonta Tank Davis, or Abdul Wahid, as he is pronounced now. But they don't necessarily do a whole lot. You know, they kind of wait. They're very patient. Kostya Tszyu is not a patient guy. He is a stalker, and he does give a lot of pressure, but he's not a very patient guy. He's going to go for it. And when I say patient, I don't mean he's wild and reckless. I just mean he's going to use this thing we call a jab, and he's going to press forward with it. And whatever that jab creates, or whatever openings the jab creates, he's going to work off of that opening. While you look at Erickson Lubin, he's a little bit more of a creative guy. He has great footwork, very long arms, a lot of pop in his punches. He's a solid boxer. The only thing with him is, you know, that I would knock on him is he loses focus. That's something I would say about Erickson Lubin. He loses focus in fights. You look at a Kostya Tszyu, the objective is still the same: kill, you know, and destroy. You know, it hasn't changed. So it doesn't matter if you put him down. He's just going to get up with the same mentality. He's going to keep going after you. You look at Erickson Lubin. If you hurt him, it's like he'll take it to the street, you know, and he won't leave it in the ring. And it's a personal thing as opposed to a boxing match. And it does visibly affect his fights. But if you're just talking about his pure boxing skill, he's a phenomenal boxer. I don't have anything bad to say about him. He's not the most active person in the world. So in terms of, you know, when he's in the ring, you know, he could have a little bit more of a punch output. But then again, that's a critique I suppose I could give both guys, more of a punch output. But I feel like Tim is working on something. Although he may not throw 100 punches in a round, he's definitely working on something. Well, I feel like sometimes when you look at Erickson Lubin, he's just kind of trying to get his mojo flowing. You know, because again, you just don't walk into a ring and say, I'm going to be creative tonight. No, you need to get that flowing. Those juices need to be flowing, or else you're not going to be creative at all. Power. Who has more power? I'm going to give it to Kostya Tszyu. Erickson Lubin does have power. He has knocked guys out with one punch. But I've never seen Erickson Lubin destroy anybody from start to finish. And Kostya Tszyu is starting to make a highlight reel of that. So I have to give it to Kostya Tszyu. Punch output. I just mentioned that, but I'll delve into it a little bit more. So when you're being creative, you kind of have to punch all over the place, you know, because you need to see what works, but also you need to see what your opponent is going to be reactive to. While you look at a Kostya Tszyu where he's just, Kostya Tszyu is what I would consider just a hard worker, meaning he's just going to be active. He's just going to be consistent. He's just going to keep pushing forward. He's going to be that. While you look at a Lubin, he'll take a moment and he'll try to figure the box out before he continues to play with it. While Tim would just say, no, give me the box. I'll just smash it open. Like that's basically the difference between the two guys. While, rounds are going on, one is not scoring anything and one is doing something. And even if Tim isn't, landing on you or anything like that, psychologically, what that guy is doing to you is messing you up because he's pushing you back. He's not giving you much room to operate, no space. He's making it very uncomfortable for you. And, it's either to a point where you got to react or you got to flee. You look at Erickson Lubin, he can get the juices flowing, but I don't feel like he starts it early enough, to be honest with you. I don't feel like he starts it early enough, but he can get the juices flowing. The main thing with Lubin is he's just got to be on. I think there are certain people, before they leave the dressing room, I think they have to look in the mirror and say, are you in there? And when I say, are you in there? They're looking in the mirror, talking to themselves, saying, are you in there? Hello, are you in there? And I think Erickson Lubin is one of those guys, because if you're going to perform the way he performs, you need to ask that question. If you fight the way Tim Tszyu fights, he answered that question when he woke up. He answered that question when he signed on the dotted line, just because of how aggressive he is. So, I guess to answer the original question, it was more punch output. I give it to Erickson Lubin. Let's see. Durability. So Erickson Lubin and Tim Tszyu have both been down. Erickson Lubin he's had some wars in the ring. This one, so here's the thing. You can say both guys are durable. That's true. They are. Erickson Lubin, his eye was like this, so he's a durable guy. But the fight was stopped. You look at Tim Tszyu, he's been rocked. He's been clipped, but he got back up and then he demolished his guy. Because of that, because it's happened more than once, he's been hit hard or whatever, he's been rocked, and he continued to demolish his guy. I got to give it to Tim Tszyu. Because I'm not saying that he handles it, well, let me say it like this. I think his recovery time is better than Erickson Lubin. And I think his ability overall to take pain is better than Erickson Lubin. And I think the way Erickson Lubin fights, when you want to be creative like that, it takes a lot of energy out of you. So if you get clipped or you get hit in, round 8, it's going to take a lot more out of you versus a Tim Tszyu. He's a very consistent guy and he's not exerting a whole lot of energy because he's not jumping all over the place like Erickson Lubin, So there you go. I got Tim Tszyu when it comes to durability. Cardio. Erickson Lubin will slow down. He'll take a little bit to speed up, and then once he speeds up, he's gonna slow down over time. Especially depending on how the fight goes. Erickson Lubin has this thing where he will sometimes let his opponent dictate how they fight. So, do I want to look really cool and flashy and real sporty in the ring tonight, or do I let this guy decide that, we both fight in a telephone booth? Erickson Lubin will actually let you decide. Tim Tszyu is straight up, we're going to that telephone booth. I don't care. We're gonna meet in the telephone booth. Whoever walks out is good on that man, but we're definitely gonna meet there. And that's a problem because Tim's not exerting a lot of energy. He's not bouncing around with his legs like Erickson Lubin. He's not trying to do these creative shots like Erickson Lubin. He's not trying to, run all over in terms of the real estate of the ring like Erickson Lubin. So cardio, Tim Tszyu is just as sharp in round 9, 10, and 11 as he is in round 2, 3, and 4. He's just as sharp. He's not jumping around exerting all this energy. He's not trying to do these wild creative punches. He's not doing any of that. So he's going to be the sharper guy in the latter rounds. So if this goes to, latter rounds, my thought process on Tim Tszyu winning goes up tremendously. Physicality. Who's more of a physical guy? So Erickson Lubin is actually a pretty physical guy. He doesn't mind, shoulder bumping and a little bit of wrestling. But Tim Tszyu, I'm looking at body types and he's more of a stocky guy. He's just more of a thick guy. He doesn't mind wrestling either. He doesn't mind, a push and shove. He doesn't mind any of that. He doesn't mind tussling. He doesn't mind, being in an infight or anything like that. And I think both guys are good at that because both guys have big hearts. However, again, and I'm going to keep going back to this because it's the truth. Tim Tszyu is destroying guys. He's not just beating guys, he's destroying guys. There's a difference between, we fought 12 rounds, and out of the 12 rounds, I won 7 rounds. That's good. That's impressive. But no, we fought 6 rounds, and I ripped him to shreds. Only thing left of him is one of his shoes over here, and his glove is over there. And I'm sorry, Tim Tszyu he's literally walking through his opponents. So for that, physicality, I'm going to give it to Tim Tszyu. Mental toughness. Who's more mentally tough? I typically give it to the guy who's undefeated, Tim Tszyu. And I think he has a fight style to match his mentality. I'm not saying that Erickson Lubin isn't mentally tough because, like I said, his eye was like this and he was still ready to rock and roll. His jaw was like this and he was still ready to rock and roll. So somebody had to stop it. So clearly he's mentally tough. But he's a defeated fighter. He's been defeated before. Tim Tszyu has not been defeated. Tim Tszyu has gotten off the canvas and destroyed his opponent. Therefore, who's more mentally tough? Tim Tszyu. Tim Tszyu is the current champion. Who's more mentally tough? Tim Tszyu. Tim Tszyu has been calling out the main guy for years. Tim Tszyu. Got to give it to Tim Tszyu when it comes to mental toughness. Natural ability. Who's got more natural ability? I'm probably going to go with Erickson Lubin. I think he's a little bit more fluid in his approach. His hands are a lot more fluid when he's in the groove and he's just feeling it, and those punches are popping out, and he's all over the place, and he's got his footwork, and he's ranging things. Yeah, I'll give it to Erickson Lubin. I'll give it to Erickson Lubin on that. More of a natural guy, because those are things you can't teach. If you're going to be a creative guy, if you're going to be a Prince Nassim Hamed, something like that, or Roy Jones, something like that, you either have it or you don't, and typically you find that out in the fire. You find that out in the moment. So yeah, I would give it to Erickson Lubin. Let's see, footwork, Erickson Lubin. Got to give it to him. Tim Tszyu doesn't have the best footwork in the world. But for his fight style, he doesn't necessarily need the best footwork in the world. He just needs to know how to cut off the ring, and I think he's pretty effective at doing that. Erickson Lubin does have great footwork. Erickson Lubin can win fights based on his footwork. The only problem is, like I said earlier, he can get mentally pushed off his pivot. And you can, like that, make a boxing match into a fight with Erickson Lubin. So great footwork. It's just, can you be consistent with your footwork? That's the difference. Because when Erickson Lubin fights, that footwork goes out the window. He wants the toe-and-toe battle, which is right up the alley of Tim Tszyu, by the way. Combinations. Who throws better combinations? I think Erickson Lubin, because he's more creative, he throws better combinations. But I feel like Tim Tszyu, everything he does has purpose. Everything he does has purpose. And I don't always feel like Erickson Lubin has purpose like that. I just feel sometimes he's just playing to the crowd. I get it. You're there for entertainment. I do get it. At the end of the day, you're two half-naked dudes fighting in the center of a ring in front of a crowd of drunk people. So I get it. You know what I'm saying? Play up for the crowd. But at the same time, finish your objective. And I think that's the mindset of Tim Tszyu all the time. I'm going to go in there, I'm going to take this guy out, and then afterwards, I'll say what I got to say. But my objective is to get this guy out of here. I don't want to be in here all night long. Yeah, we got 12 rounds, but I don't want to fight all 12 rounds. So, yeah. Let's see. Jab. I think Tim Tszyu has a nice jab. I think he has a strong jab. Sometimes some guys are just flicking jabs, or they're just peppering you with a jab, not really doing anything with it. But Tim Tszyu, no, you're going to feel that. That jab feels like a right hand. You're going to feel that. And that's one of the reasons why he's so successful in pushing his opponents back. Also why he's so successful in lining them up for that right hand. And that extensive body work that he does. Because they're stunned from his jabs. They're not little boom, boom, boom. No, they're boom, boom, boom type of jabs. Overall, I have Tim Tszyu winning. I just think Tim Tszyu right now is on fire, to be honest with you. I also think that he is the guy right now, and he's just the guy right now. And I do think that Erickson Lubin would give him more than a test. I think Erickson Lubin would give the type of test that Tony Harrison was promising Tim Tszyu, because I think he possesses a lot of the things that Tony Harrison possessed in terms of boxing abilities and IQ. The only difference is Erickson Lubin can punch, and Erickson Lubin doesn't mind getting hit back. That's the difference. So I think he would test Tim Tszyu in different ways. But I also believe, psychologically speaking, Tim Tszyu can transform this boxing match into a fight within, seconds. And because he can do that, because Erickson Lubin would allow that to happen, I still got to give it to Tim Tszyu, because that's right up Tim Tszyu's alley. Do I think if Erickson Lubin boxed a beautiful fight with his legs for 12 rounds, he could beat Tim Tszyu? It's possible. But do I think he would be disciplined enough to do that? No, I do not. I don't think that for one moment. I think he's going to get popped with something. I think he's going to say, screw this. And I think the next round they would be fighting. And I think they would be fighting for, let's just say if that were round 2. That means 3, 4, 5, and possibly 6, they'd be fighting. And I think around round 7, somebody's going to sleep. And more than likely, it would probably be Lubin. He's been busted up a few times. And, the things that, just because something heals up doesn't mean it can't get broken again. You can glue a glass all back together again. I'm not saying he has a glass jaw, but I'm saying you can glue a glass all back together again. But guess what? If you hit it hard enough, well, those cracks are already there. What do you think is going to happen? And Erickson Lubin has, taken a whole lot of punishment in his career, so I would still give it to Tim Tszyu based upon that. Also based upon the pressure. And I think, honestly, I just think it's Tim Tszyu's time, to be honest with you. I just really believe it's his time, and he's taking full advantage of it. And I think on top of it being his time, I think what makes it really dangerous is he's aware that it's his time. And he's putting in the time to capitalize and maximize on his time. That's what I think. I don't think Tim Tszyu doesn't have, kids running around or anything like that. He just focuses on the fight. Erickson Lubin is a family man. I'm not saying that, your kids can't motivate you to fight, but you also have something to live for. While Tim Tszyu is all about glory, and he's going to get the glory. He's going to go out and fight for glory. Like initially in the first half of his career, it was about, what's my name? Now it's like, no, now you know my name. Now it's all about glory. That's what I think. But you tell me what you think. You tell me if you agree with me that Tim Tszyu would beat Erickson Lubin. Or if you don't agree, drop your thoughts down below. I would love to hear what you have to say. And as always, please like, please share, please subscribe to this channel.